Colorado goes full circle. They were one of the ridiculous states that defunded their police. So now they've refunded their police $350 million. This is amidst record homicides and violent gang takeovers by Tren de Aragua, a prison gang out of Venezuela. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Bart, Heather, this is just one of the departments that could benefit from $350 million that Initiative 157 aims to give local law enforcement agencies. Now, while officials here at the Colorado Springs Police Department say they're still looking over the initiative, Provo's police chief tells KRDO 13 that money could go a long way towards helping his department and others.
I'm not here to sway voters, but what I would say is that support of law enforcement is something that needs to be front and center.
Initiative 157, also known as Back the Blue, aims to do just that. According to the Common Sense Institute, the authors behind the measure, the proposal looks to address crime statewide by sweetening the incentives given to law enforcement officers and by awarding funds to increase training budgets.
The Back the Blue initiative is to enable them to recruit and keep.
Literally, back the blue. This is great.
More law enforcement officers that then keep our communities and families safe.
If passed, $350 million in state funding would go to law enforcement agencies, and it would be up to lawmakers to decide how to divvy up those funds.
There's a lot of departments our size or smaller that probably need the money pretty bad. This is a good way to show that to the people that are looking at this as a career and the people that are serving criminally.
Initiative 157 would also provide a $1 million death benefit to the families of officers killed in the line of duty, in addition to the officer's pension.
This $1 million death benefit would, never make up for what happened.
Yeah, that's a drop in the bucket. You lose a family member, $1 million, taxes are going to take a bunch. Your loved one is gone in the line of duty. But it's better than nothing, right?
To the first responder who died protecting the rest of us, but it does do a better job taking care of their family. And that's the goal here.
The death benefit would go to surviving spouses, children, or the estate.
If you want people to come and do those jobs, you have to show support for the people that are doing those jobs.
To be clear, that $350 million initiative is a one-time deal, not an annual payment, and it would come straight from the state's budget, not from any new added taxes. Reporting live in Colorado Springs, Paige Reynolds, KRDO 13.
Smart.
Tonight with your Voice Your Vote coverage.
So you are seeing just a massive, massive reversal in policy. These blue states, what did you think would happen? Seriously, what did you think would happen? Oh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And I've harped on this a million times. Greatest thing ever. We're going to shift some money into community support and social workers, a bunch of other horse crap. And we're just going to leave the, public safety to the whim of whatever. And, F around and find out. How did that work out? Let's see. 4 years after a frenzy to defund police departments nationwide, that is collectively one of the stupidest things we've ever seen in America, right? I mean, can you think of anything more stupid? I'm just throwing that out there. It's so crazy. Colorado voters approved a ballot referendum that earmarked $350 million of the state's budget to recruiting, training, and retaining law enforcement officers. Proposition 130, which passed with just shy of 53% of the votes, will not raise residents' taxes. Instead, funding for the initiative will be pulled from other public services within the state's general fund. Great. I think public safety is one of those things that, okay, schooling, yeah, all right. But if the kids aren't safe to go to school, you know what I'm saying? Then what are we even doing? If parents aren't safe taking their kids to school, if all of that stuff, if you have a big emergency and you don't have enough cops around, everything goes sideways, right? So if you got to pull some money and take money from, I don't know, whatever it is, then, and you've got money in the budget to do it. Most states, most cities, most counties just are trying to figure out, like Illinois right now, they're trying to figure out how to balance their $1 billion deficit. And so they don't have money to be yanking and placing elsewhere. The win for the state's police departments comes after the cities of Aurora and Colorado Springs saw record homicides in 2022. Denver saw homicides rate double in the last decade, and apartment building takeovers by Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua in Aurora made national headlines. So was this in response to, Tren de Aragua? No, but homicide rates doubling. What did you think would happen? It's going to be fine. I mean, the criminals are just going to back off because, we've given them a token of our admiration for their endeavors to rape and pillage society. So here you go, guys. We're going to defund the police. Get out there, Tiger. Go get somebody. And they did. And they doubled the murder rate, right? Proposition 130 is a huge comeback in Colorado from the defund the police movement, which was one of the all-time stupidest things that, just say it out loud. Say it out loud. Make that make sense. It's just, it's terrible. Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinsky, she's the one that called BS and basically said, hey, these apartment complexes are being taken over. She's the one that got all the national attention because she's a Republican. And she basically said, you need to get some folks in here. Colorado officials, Aurora officials were like, no, everything's good here. It's fine. It's overblown. You guys are making, this is a figment of your imagination, just like Antifa back in the day, right? Same exact thing. You're imagining this. No, I don't think so. Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinsky, who had previously been vocal about migrant gangs in her city, told Fox News Digital, we back the blue in Colorado. Well, now, you know what? When I was a kid, Colorado was great. It was a fun place to go. Denver was a cool place to go. We went there, I think once or twice. I remember it well. Went there to get Dave, the appraiser. We'll leave it at that. I remember driving there, and he was in the Air Force, and we brought him back. Worked for my dad, and it was cool. It was cool. It didn't have any of this ridiculousness. What happened to Colorado just as a state? How did it go so beta? Just, when you think of Colorado as being, wild, wild west, right? Not so much. We're going to vote for just a bunch of weenie stuff, and we're just going to give up all our rights and defund the police. This should be great. Homelessness, fine. Drugs, fine. It's all good. Love it. We love it. That is the big blue urban cities. I should make that distinction. Because it's the same thing here in Washington. It's the same thing in Oregon. You've got parts that are, wildly liberal, and you got other parts that have to fend for their own. Guess what? The ones that have to fend for their own, they are not blue. Because being self-sufficient, who's going to save me? Who's going to protect me? Where's all my money to get all my drugs going to come from? Joe Gernaldi, the National Vice President of the Fraternal Order of Police, told Fox News Digital that the funding is really positive step to show law enforcement that they are supported and that they're going to be funded, and then they're going to have the resources necessary to do their jobs. So here in Seattle City Council is absolutely scrambling, trying to get more cops up in here because nobody wants to be a cop in Seattle. They just don't. And for those of you policing in Seattle, thank you. But there's not enough of you. And you know it because you're having to do overtime. You're having to do all kinds of crazy stuff just to kind of cobble public safety together. And then when you have these ridiculous, 10 people stabbings like we had last weekend because you've got lunatic convicted felon, 9-time convicted felon, 31 misdemeanor convictions, running around on the streets, literally stabbing people with 3 knives, leaving one of the knives in a dude's back. Literally stabbing in the back, right? Well, that's what we had in Seattle because you've got policy in Seattle that just allows everybody to do whatever they want. We've got open air drug use. And I know you got the same thing in Denver. You got the same thing. Portland, LA, Vancouver, BC. Holy cow. Some of the footage I've seen up there. It is neck and neck for Portland, right? It's neck and neck for Skid Row or in Philadelphia, Kensington Avenue, just some real escape from New York type stuff. So my point with Seattle City Council is that they have been scrambling to get folks into the Seattle Police Department. They are offering a $50,000 one-time incoming bonus to lateral hires into the police department. Those are not new hires. Those are not new rookies who need to go through training, go through the academy. They're men and women that can just basically get right going. And Seattle's going to pay him $50K. Hey, here's a bonus. Here's a signing bonus. $7,000 incoming bonus to brand new police officers. And you know what? It's not going to move the needle, because these cities that have this real anti-policing rhetoric and attitude, and you still see defund the police signs up in Seattle because they're just effed in the head. Seattle is literally effed in the head when it comes to some of this stuff. And then whole Black Lives Matter, they're still supporting Black Lives Matter, which is clearly a domestic terrorism group. I mean, they just rake communities, wide open during the pandemic, right? How'd that work out? And then, another acronym for Black Lives Matter is BLM, build large mansions or buy large mansions. Yeah, it's so supportive of the communities that they allowed to just be absolutely destroyed. Minneapolis, right? I mean, say no more. Seattle. And that's in Denver, where the homicide rate has more than doubled in the last 10 years. That is an ongoing trend, and these are ongoing trends. So we didn't have defund the police 10 years ago. We had it 4 years ago. And that was kind of the culmination of this whole genius concept behind after Fentanyl Floyd passed away, and everybody defund the police, greatest concept ever. And it just, in the next few years, and then people have sat back and gone, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, that wasn't the most brilliant of concepts to really enact. We effed around and found out what happened there, right? It's just so. The policy that you find in big blue liberal cities is absolutely comical. A prime example of that is Let's Go Brandon Johnson in Chicago. He literally yesterday, city council in a 50-0, probably need to do that. How's that go? 50-0. So you can see it's 50-0 backwards, right? 50-0 city council count. They tossed out his $350 million tax increase because he's got $1 billion deficit. City council just gave a big FU to Let's Go Brandon Johnson, because Let's Go Brandon Johnson is a progressive and just has terrible ideas. And he's just trying to jam through legislation that is what we're doing. It doesn't make any sense. And this city council in Chicago, they literally said, no. And collectively they, 50-0. That is when you pack your bags up and you go home, right? You go home because it's so bad. Just an annihilation. So critics of the funding initiative, this is back to the Colorado initiative, have raised concerns. I have great concerns that the money taken from the general fund will strip funding from other public services. Okay. I mean, money's got to come from somewhere, right? Money's got to come from somewhere. The dollar amount is equivalent to 6,000 teacher salaries and the whole budget for the affordable housing program. Well, you know what? The whole affordable housing program, you know what I mean? Okay. Public safety is probably more important than that. And yeah, but no teachers are going without their salary as a result of this. It might be the equivalent of 6,000 teacher salaries, but that's not what we're saying. So I get the comparison, but, you know what? I want to see affordable housing to a limited point, but when you've got affordable housing for all the drug addicts out there as well, when you have housing first as your priority, which is, take all these drug addicts and all these lunatics, all these people that should be in a mental institution or are on drugs and lunatics at the same time, and put them in housing, it's, they're going to be able to get back on their feet and get going again. No, they need mental treatment and they need treatment for their drug addictions, period. And it's just not that hard to figure out. Or They belong in jail, like the 9-time convicted felon with 31 misdemeanors stabbing people in the streets of Seattle during the day. Wasn't even dark. Didn't even do it under the cover of dark. Here's the real hinging statement. However, Garnaldi told Fox News Digital that nothing in our communities works unless we have a bedrock platform of public safety. And that's what I really believe. If you've got FBI guidelines, I mean, that has to be a baseline rate, right? I mean, if FBI is saying, okay, we got a population of X, we need to have X number of cops per 1,000, and we are somewhere in Seattle 600 cops short. Yeah, how do you think that's going to work out long term? Not that well. That's why you've got guys running around stabbing 10 people in 38 hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you've just got a bunch of lunatics running around. And our policy is, nope, we're not going to get anybody, we're not going to force anybody into treatment. And all the crazy people, we're just going to let them run around. It should be fine. Oh, it's not? Yeah. Oh, oof. Yeah. Sorry about that stabbing. Sorry about that kitchen knife blade that got stuck in your back. That video is going to be on our private channel. I did a review of that, and that should be coming out pretty soon. Jeremy Harris of Como did a in-depth analysis of what it was like to be on that scene. He happened to be going back the next day covering, follow-up coverage of what was going on, and another 5 people got stabbed. I mean, just insane. And he was right there. His cameraman was right there. And they got some just crazy footage. I can't show it on this platform because it is too violent. Literally people are stabbing, bleeding out. And, there'd be a heyday with that. So that's on the private channel, $3.99 a month, all that good stuff. We can't have good schools if they're not safe. Businesses can't thrive if they're not safe. All of it starts with public safety, and that's where the investment needs to be first. And make no mistake, we are hemorrhaging police officers nationwide because you have demonized policing as a profession. You went through this ridiculous F around and find out exercise of, well, how do we just defund the police? Should be great. This would be great. Socialism works out so well. We have record amounts of retirements, record amounts of resignations to the tune of 45% increase in resignations nationwide because sane people have said, I'm not putting my life on the line. If you guys are just going to tell me I'm a piece of crap and you're going to defund my department and you're going to reduce my salary, go F yourself. I've got enough time in. I'm going to go get, therapy for all the hideousness that I've endured and try and get my life back in order. I don't need this anymore. So, and a lot of folks who weren't in a position to really retire, they have made career choice changes. They've just flat out quit. They've gone to areas where policing is appreciated and back the blue is a thing. So, even though Colorado did this, $350 million investment, it's like Seattle's $50K bonus to a lateral transfer into the Seattle Police Department. It's good, but I don't know how much it really moves the needle. So this funding is needed to not just recruit the next generations of officers, but to keep the experience that we have right now. If we don't want to make an investment in the law enforcement professionals that we have now, I mean, we could lose this whole thing for an entire generation. I think you've already lost it. And I think veteran cops, if you're a veteran cop and you've got an anonymous YouTube, let me know. Has policing been lost for a generation? I mean, I don't know how you can say it hasn't been. You know what I mean? You got people like AOC, defund the police, Kamala Harris. She was down that road, right? She was just like, I really want to engage with that, but I'm the vice president. She's a far lefty. AOC just took down her she pronouns. Why would she do that? Why would you take your pronouns down from Instagram or Twitter? Was it Twitter? You got people leaving Twitter in droves. Sorry. X, formerly known as Twitter. I hate that crap. It's Twitter. You tweet, it's Twitter. You've got all of these liberals making moves because they know The red wave has come, and she, her. Yeah, we know. We look at you and we know you're a female. I'm a dude. I don't need to identify he, him. Yeah. How about Elon Musk's pronouns? Prosecute/Fauci. That's so funny. All right. That's it for me on this one. It's good to see Colorado enacting this, but has the damage been done? To me, it has. It has. So this is like makeup. And is it gonna really change things? No, but it's a step back in the right direction. Step back in the right direction to get things where they need to be going, which was, providing basic public safety to the citizens of a huge community and of a state. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.